the Football Pod on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. Lads, we weren't meant to have a show on Monday this week. We were supposed to just do one show, given the fact that the hurling took centre stage at the weekend. We might come back to that in a minute. But I decided to give Andy Moran a shout yesterday and release a special episode talking about the life of the great late John O'Mahony, who passed away sadly at the weekend. Andy would have been very close to him, and he would have been a school teacher actually from first year. So there's loads of stories there that Andy told us. When John O'Mahony took Andy's team in first year in St. Nathan's College, he was in between the Leitrim job and the Galway job. The Leitrim job in 1994 when he led them to the Connacht title and nearly bet Galway in 1995, to the Galway job where he led them to the All-Ireland final. And he actually coached Andy's team the whole way through. So he had that school's first year team and an All-Ireland winning team at the same time. John O'Mahony, an unbelievable life in Gaelic football. You can listen back to all the stories that Andy told us on Monday's pod. But a huge loss to the GAA.
Yeah, some record, like you say, for the Mayo man to go on and do the with Leitrim their Connacht title win in the 90s, and then obviously with Galway to most all Ireland titles. Like obviously the political side of things as well. He was in the public eye for his career there, but I suppose we know him best, and I'm sure our listeners know him best from that incredible run in the 90s with those teams and the success he brought to them. So very sad. I know Andy would have mentioned him quite a bit when he was on the show, how big an influence he had on him personally, but a lot of players between Leitrim, Mayo, Galway, a real legend of the West. So very sad to see, of course. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I heard it the week before, Jono, massive GAA figures. So just condolences to the family, obviously, and I listened to Andy, obviously, said it best, having known him for pretty much his whole life, So very sad news.
I saw a great clip of him in the dressing room where he was reading out the paper. Did you see the criticism that the players are getting?
From a year till Sunday, yeah.
It was classic.
A great documentary.
That was brilliant clip. Yeah. Was it? What's the documentary called?
Have you not watched the year till Sunday?
Jimmy,
I don't think I have.
Oh my God, it's like the greatest thing that's ever been created. Yeah. Oh my God, you got to
original.
Oh please,
watch it this week. On the wall, like.
It's an RT documentary.
No. It's Pat Comer.
Keeper.
The Galway goalkeeper.
The keeper did it.
He has a video production company, and John O'Mahony. Oh my God, this is amazing. We have to watch this together. We have to watch.
He was inside in the dressing room with the camera on.
Yeah.
As a player.
Yeah. Some keeper. He's recording training.
That's outstanding stuff.
The greatest insights we've ever gotten into.
When was that released?
1999. It was the year after they won the All Ireland. Like they weren't meant to win the All Ireland.
Proper fly on the wall stuff, like none of this like Man City fucking Netflix access. This was like proper in the dressing room before this was even a thing. It basically, like a hidden camera show, but it's a very famous one. Jimmy, I've
never seen it.
Some sort of clips from that.
Jah Fallon, Jazz the man, and Derek Savage, the fastest man in Ireland. Like. Jesus, James, this is the most Gen Z thing that you've ever done. You haven't seen a year till Sunday. What?
I'm only a bobbing.
There's a documentary to be made of you watching this live and just seeing how much you'll love this. You'll absolutely love it.
For the road show.
Send it on to me. What's it on? What's it on?
It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. I watch it every year. Like literally watch it every year. I'm not even...
YouTube?
Okay, we'll watch this together. We can actually do a podcast watching this. But yeah, what was it? Galway Fancy Dance.
Yeah,
isn't that the line in the paper? Oh man, this is unbelievable! I can't believe you're just watching this for the first time. Andy actually told us he watched it with Charlotte, his 9-year-old daughter, during the week. She was asking, Joe.
I met her. I met that young lady
of course.
in Castlebar a couple of weeks ago. Big fan.
Ollie just likes the wolf, but he was saying 9-year-old. A couple of choice words being used throughout the documentary. It's raw, it's unfiltered. It is, it's great stuff. It's like Friday Night Lights, but the GAA version of it. Like, it's just...
I'm actually buzzing to watch it now. Is it a one part?
One season. And actually, there was word.
One season?
It's an entire season, 1998.
One
so if you,
movie.
It's just one 1 hour and a half.
You got to remember, this is knockout time, right? So, Galway draw Mayo in the 1998 Connacht Championship. Mayo had been in the All-Ireland final in 97 against Kerry. They should have got over the line. Mayo were the team that were meant to win the All-Ireland
Morris
in
Fitz.
1998.
Morris Fitz.
Mayo were meant to do it, and Galway beat them, I think, in the first round of the Connacht Championship in a dramatic ending, and their season just snowballs from there. Kevin Walsh was meant to retire. All the injuries he had, he didn't because Jono came in. Ray Silk and Jono had a bit of a falling out at the start of the year because Ray Silk was playing with Cara Finn and he missed a couple of training sessions at the start of the year. He went on holidays with his wife.
Was Ray Silk captain in 98?
Ended up being captain in 98, yeah.
He was,
Great story that Kevin Walsh, this isn't in the documentary, but I heard Ray Silk talking about it during the week. Kevin Walsh rang one night very early on in Jono's tenure and said, Jono, I'm working late tonight in the Guards. I won't be able to make training in Monavea. John O'Mahony says, no problem, Kevin. What time are you finished at? 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll meet you in Monavea at 11 o'clock. Floodlights still on in Monavea, and John O'Mahony trains Kevin Walsh one-on-one. And Silk said there was no more excuses for the rest of the year that you wouldn't make training. You'd make it late, you'd make it early, you'd be there at some stage. He left no stone unturned. He was the man who had backroom teams. He did everything himself, cones, bibs, everything. But he had the backroom teams. He had the Irish physio from the 94 World Cup involved. He had Eddie O'Sullivan involved in his backroom team. You mentioned Miona Maherty and Tommy Gorman, who passed away last week. Tommy Gorman was a good friend of his, the RT correspondent. He was the voiceover on the video analysis before video analysis was a thing for John O'Mahony.
Innovation.
Lads, an unbelievable life, an unbelievable influence he weaved on football across the last 50 years when he started teaching in St. Nathan's to even up to last year. And I was speaking about John Maher, somebody who we would have all said did an unbelievable job in Brian Fenton 2 weeks ago in that quarter-final. I spoke to John Maher after his debut for Galway in 2023 as a 24-25-year-old. He man-marked Enda Smith in the hide, put the mic under John's mouth, and I asked him about how he became an inter-county footballer, and he said John O'Mahony lit the fire for him. So even in 2023, John O'Mahony was still having an influence because he was Maher's boss in Salthill Knocknacarra and made him believe that he could be an inter-county footballer. And look at the benefit that Galway are getting out of that right now. So loads of stories there with Andy. James, you are watching A Year Till Sunday before the weekend.
I'll watch it today. If I find it today, I'll get straight into it this evening.
And He's flat out with work though. Jimmy, do your work for AIB first. Don't be Skyping
did the sub-goalie get away with doing a documentary from inside his dressing room?
Sorry, and I meant to say this. In 2022, word was Pat Comer was on the Galway backroom team. And the word was that Joyce had greenlit. So Joyce was obviously a star of A Year Till Sunday and Galway's winning 98. Had greenlit Comer to record background footage of their journey in 2022. Now that has never seen the light of day, but I do wonder whether that's sitting somewhere. And if Galway got over the line this year, might we see some of that and some of this? We'll have to wait and see. So,
jeez, that'll be class.
Oh lads, A Year Till Sunday. How have you not watched A Year Till Sunday? Anyways, speaking of outside managers, John O'Mahony. Ask a Leitrim man, a Galway man, a Mayo man, wherever you want to go. He's got connections in Roscommon. John O'Mahony went wherever he could. In Westmeath, in the Downs. It didn't matter that John O'Mahony was technically from Mayo / the Roscommon border. Wherever he went as an outside manager, he had a positive impact. Why then was it such a big deal for a Tyrone man to go to Derry? And how did it fall apart?
Nice segue, Tommy. You
that
were
was
practicing that
expert.
One. I wasn't.
That was well played.
Because
that's why you're the main correspondent.
100 days after guiding Derry to the Division 1 title,
Jesus.
Mickey Hart has departed less than 10 months after taking the job. Him taking the job was probably more surprising than him leaving the job 10 months later.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's huge news.
It's massive. But you know what? I think fair play to him for starting it all so quickly. The worst thing for Derry and for Mickey Hart, for the players, supporters and everything, would have been it dragging on rumour after rumour. Is he staying? Is he going? Some wanted him out, some wanted him in. I think he couldn't have possibly felt the love inside in Derry. So he just wasn't getting it. So I think just for him to say, we had our year, we had one great trophy, won the National League, let's leave the relationship there, I think is the right decision for everyone. Because it always had that simmering potential to go toxic or something. You know, it just didn't sit comfortably enough for him to stay on for another year, I think. So I think it's the right decision for him to go.
Yeah, I agree. It was you could see this a mile out. The surprising thing was when he took the job. Obviously, after the progress he made with Loud, he joined along with Gavin Devlin to win the All Ireland. That was the absolute. There was no ambiguity there from the Derry players, from the county board, from Mickey Hart himself. And they hit the ground running. They steamrolled the McKenna Cup, which is big in Ulster. Obviously, the team's taken far more seriously up there than any of the other pre-season competitions. They were brilliant in the National League from the opening night, bringing the Glen boys straight back in for that Kerry match. They probably live to regret that later on in the year. But they won the National League. And you said 100 days ago, they were front runners for this whole thing. But the wheels came off. And look, we've spoken as many column inches and podcasts and supporters around the country have all had their say over the last couple of months. It was surprising to see. I don't think we've seen a team at that high a level drop to such a low level in such a quick space of time. I'm sure we'll probably hear a hell of a lot more about this now in the off season before whoever it is appointed to take over Derry again. They're still an excellent team. They still have brilliant potential. We see their minors won back-to-back All-Irelands at the weekend again. But with Mickey Hart, it was funny. I don't know if funny is the right word, but even we did a couple of the Derry games with GAA and he spoke to us, and you could just see, even when they were still in the championship, the writing was on the wall. He said that the fight seemed to be out of him. He seemed quite not accepting of just the tone of Mickey Hart, what we normally see from him, or we used to seeing from over decades of success with Tyrone. It was just kind of like nearly indifference around that Westmeath game, which they win, the Mayo game even beforehand. It was just very kind of like, yeah, we'll see how this goes. You could just get the sense that this was not going to last long, no matter what happened. They end up putting some semblance of respectability, I suppose, on their season by winning those games and beating Mayo. That was a big game in the summer, and getting to the quarterfinals. But again, we spoke last week about their performance against Kerry. They just regressed massively over the last couple of months. So it's a big opportunity for everyone who goes in. There's still a really, really strong foundation within that Derry team. But I think, as you said, Jimmy, for Mickey Hart, for Derry, for the players, for the county board, I think it was inevitable that this was going to come to an end sooner rather than later. And I agree with you, James, that just for them to get this done now, straight away, it gives them a chance to get a good structure in place for the 2025 season. But no surprise over the last couple of months to see Mickey Hart stepping away.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a winter where there's a huge amount of change on the management scene in intercounty football, and you two boys should change your numbers very quickly, because I'm not up for looking for new pundits next year in the football pod. Do not enter the world of coaching.
Don't worry. Nobody's looking for us.
Well, don't. Just stay with me for another season or two. We have a good thing going here.
Fitz wants Jimmy on that football review committee now after his performance last Sunday. Oh, man.
Should we get into the wedding and everything?
Get out of there quick enough.
Oh, yeah. How was the wedding?
I seen that on Friday.
Brian Kelly's wedding, yeah. And Rihanna O'Shea. It was a terrific wedding. Brilliant, yeah. And we had day 2 in Golden Nugget, you'd be happy to know.
Oh, unreal.
Get the fuck the Nugget. How good was that?
That was good. First nice barbecue out there, and great crowd. It was nice. You'd be tired after the tough weekend, the old wedding scene.
Yes. You were happy.
You look sharp.
Day off yesterday, Jimmy.
Yourself and Christina look great. Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much. I don't feel it. I don't feel it now. It probably takes 2 or 3 days to come around now, doesn't it?
Oh,
I was there at the end of day 2. We went into the Tatler in town, and I just could not hold another conversation. I was like, just get me out of here now. Like, do you know why you're just going on so long? And it's like, if this person comes over to me and tries to talk to me, the words are not going to come. Do you know what? I'm just going to be looking at them vacantly. So that was
that sounds like a good weekend, Jimmy.
It was a great weekend. No, they put on an unbelievable spread. In fairness to them, no. 10 out of 10.
Fair play. Congrats.
But Eamon was there. There's a good Kerry crowd there. But we just briefly touched on it after dinner.
Any insights you can offer us, or are you going to save that?
Nah, there was none. I was only talking nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah, he's so sharp though, Eamon. Like, I think he'd be brilliant for that. Like,
just to let you know, lads, I was on a meeting yesterday when the Mickey Hart news broke, and my face gave it away. Apparently, I did a bit like with my mic on Zoom. So, just letting you know, your DMs or your your Twitter notifications are about to blow up, James, because I've just tweeted breaking news. James O'Donoghue has revealed on the Football Pod that he somehow hasn't ever seen the greatest GA documentary of all time, A Year Till Sunday. He has promised to watch and review before the weekend. How he hasn't seen it, I don't know, but he's in for a treat. 30 seconds
Galway
later.
fans are going to come after you.
30 seconds later, they're coming after you. Shocking behaviour, Shinny. So we'll wait and see what you make of that. So, right.
Airplane mode, so for the phone.
You mentioned being hungover. I feel hungover from the hurling, but in a good way. Do you know that kind of buzz you have after being out and you've maybe had, I don't know, something to keep you going, a couple of vodka Red Bulls after Letterkenny, where you could feel like you could go again. That's what it felt like after being at Cork Limerick at the weekend. That you were, the lads, the electricity. It was like an All-Ireland final.
Was the atmosphere unbelievable?
It
was like
looked amazing.
Hairs on the neck. It was rocking. The stadium was shaking. And it was just amazing being there as a neutral. Obviously working, but with nothing on the line, that you could just take in every roar, every moment, every puck, every shout. It was class. It was just such a
savage
treat.
game as well. Like. It was a better game than Saturday's game. But like I would say 2 upsets. Obviously the Cork beat Limerick, but I would have had Kilkenny to beat Clare as well. So
A lot of Clare people were saying Kilkenny were going to beat them too, which I think Clare people entered the realm of Yera-isms this week. They were kind of playing down their chances going into the weekend. So they're learning from the best. I heard a couple of Clare pundits tipping Kilkenny. Podge Collins live on the radio. So
Jimmy's got to tip Armagh.
Yeah, I thought that was cheeky. But we'll see what game they play. Cork people are obviously Cork people, so they're convinced that they've got Lee McCarthy wrapped up already. So we'll wait and see.
I've got
they're going
the
for
amount of fucking texts of Cork people. I don't know anyone from Cork, and my phone was helping looking for tickets. I heard them finding tickets. I swear, lads, it's like being back playing again. Like I met you once there a couple of years ago. I was like, what the fuck is this? Hurling, I have no use.
Do you remember
for
me?
Tickets. Yeah, basically that type of.
We should just do a hurling All-Ireland final road show with the lads in the Bogosh Energy Theatre. So the hurling pod are there next week.
We'll join that as well. We have a few hurlers who listen to this show who probably don't. They listen to it and they've told us because we don't talk about hurling. So
yeah,
we'll leave that to the boys. They have a big week ahead. We do have a big weekend ahead, lads.
Massive.
There's a good segue, isn't there?
Absolutely huge segue. So this is our members pod this week. So what we're going to do is our big semi-final preview. We're going to make a small bit of it available. The first probably half of it available for free, but the full thing is available for members. I'll probably put the free part out
we've
tomorrow.
just spoke there now. Don't make that bit free. That was terrible.
We'll probably put this bit out tomorrow. If you aren't,
make that available.
If you aren't an Off the Ball member this month of all months, what are you doing? Because there's an unbelievable wealth of GA coverage across the board this week, as well as all the other Off the Ball podcasts. You can get it by going to offtheball.com/join. And if you aren't and you want to just check it out, you do get 3 free listens a month on the Off the Ball app. And I would hazard a guess to say that this one would be worth it if you're interested in Gaelic football. So that's just the little pitch. I want to get into the 2 semi-finals now. Andy, the second half of my chat with Andy yesterday on our Monday pod of the Football Pod, we spoke about him stepping away from Leitrim, the decision he made after 3 years, the fact that he thinks somebody needs to go in there for another 3-year term, and that just wasn't something he was able to commit to right now. We got talking about the Tailteann Cup final between Down and Laois at the weekend, so there's a bit of a deep dive into that. That's the first game on Saturday. James, you're covering the second game with me, Kerry Armagh, and I want to start there before we get into Galway Donegal. I think there are areas on the field in any match that if you target, you can get joy from. And I think if Armagh are brave,
couldn't agree more.
I think if they target 2 lines on Kerry's field that Armagh are particularly strong in, they can get at Kerry.
Okay.
I'm looking here at a programme from the Armagh Derry game, and I'm looking at the middle third that Armagh lined out with that day. They had Tiernan Kelly 12, they had Ben Creeley, they had Rian O'Neill, Niall Grimley started 2. And in around that middle third, they bossed it. They dominated Derry. They bullied them in that section. And I think that they can bully and dominate Diarmuid O'Connor, Joe O'Connor, maybe Adrian Spillane if they start. And I think that Armagh, if they're brave, if they go long, if they attack that area of the field, they can get an impetus and get on top there. And secondly to that, Armagh's attack, I think they've got threats from all over. It's not even triple threats. It's not even quadruple threats. They're nearly like the Cork hurlers. Their attack is very dynamic, And there's different types of threats, whether it be Murnan, Turbot, Connerty, Soupy Campbell off the bench, Rory Grugan, who's a playmaker, Nugent or Duffy when they're coming in. They're all very different types of footballers. And the Kerry full back line of Paul Murphy, Jason Foley, Tom Sullivan, throw in Tyke Morley there, dropping back. They'll have their hands full if Armagh really go at the jugular here. And I know you lads are saying that might not be the type of game that we might see, but I think if Armagh go for it, it's there for them. James.
Well, I mean, they'll surely go for it. I mean, you're talking about being in an All-Ireland semi-final for the first time since 2005, where they actually have a realistic shot and confidence behind them. Now, you said around the middle, I think the Kerry have definitely improved in that area as the season went on, but as well, Armagh give up a lot of kickouts. So I think it's going to be a slow game, a slow burner again. And what from a Kerry point of view, I suppose what we're hoping is that the Kerry lads have seen that a couple of times, obviously most recently against Derry, and will have learned a lot even in that Derry game. No, I agree. I think Armagh have a lot of threat up front, but they don't rack up a lot of scores. I don't think Armagh are going to come out and kick 20 points. I think they're going to be around the 14, 15 point mark. So defensively is where they're going to have to be incredibly solid. And Kerry haven't been going that well up front. I mean, they're tipping away. They got 15 points against Derry in a very, very defensive game. But if Kerry do click in attack, I think Kerry have the bigger potential to kick the 20 points than Armagh do. So I know that you're saying Armagh have a brilliant attack and they can score from anywhere, but they're still not scoring that freely. I think Kerry can score a bit freer. So I think Armagh might concentrate a bit more on defence and try and keep Kerry down to the 14, 15 point mark. It's going to be a slow game.
Before I let Paddy in, I think that's a very good point about the amount that Armagh can score. They did obviously rack up a big score against Derry, but it's worth noting that their conversion rate that day was up and around the 90%. It was
that was an outlier for them. I think that, they
Derry
can
had
get
no
there.
defenders playing that day.
Yeah, exactly. And there was very little pressure put on. Yeah,
I'd kick a few scores myself if there was no one in the half. Like
Paddy, just on what I kind of proposed to James there, and he answered it very well. Like
very diplomatic.
Yeah, Kerry's attack is obviously so strong, and they haven't necessarily need to be operating at 10 out of 10 levels yet.
No.
I'm not sure Armagh. I think Armagh's defence is really good. I think the structure is really good. I'm not sure they'll stop Kerry scoring 16, 17, 18 points, even if they play really defensively. But I do think they can hurt them the other way if they actually go at it. But do you think that's going to happen? That's going to transpire?
No, I think it would be a cagey enough match. I know you say you think Armagh have to go for it. I'm not sure we'll see Armagh going all guns blazing. Certainly not for the entire match. Like I said, we spoke about it last week. There might be periods after set plays or frees or certain moments in the games where they'll go after. I think it'll be a very tactical game. I think it'll be quite similar, not to kind of blow off the neutrals here, but I think it's going to be quite similar to the quarterfinal. I think this will be very tactical. There's a lot on the line. Kerry are obviously probably more comfortable in this situation that they've played. Kerry been in every semi-final for the last God knows how long. Whereas Armagh is the first time they're at this level that they've gotten here. You've seen it was a bit of a monkey off their back with that Roscommon winning the quarter final. I agree with a lot of what you said, Tommy. If Armagh are playing at their absolute peak and they attack this game, they play on the front foot, they have absolutely weapons that can hurt that Kerry, particularly their defence. But that's the way it should be. It's the All-Ireland semi-final. You're meant to be playing against one of the top teams. I just think it's hard to give predictions on it because we're not sure. Maybe Armagh will come out with something a bit out of the ordinary. Kerry's ceiling is higher than Armagh's. If Kerry, and I agree, they haven't needed to be anywhere near their best, and they haven't been at their best, but they're there. They're in the semi-final, and they have blue chip performers in David Clifford, Paddy Clifford, and Johnny Shea, who were very quiet by their standards against Derry the last day out. But Jimmy, you alluded to, it's probably the first time they've played that really, really ultra-defensive team in a long time. So they'll have learned a hell of a lot from that game, even though it wasn't a great performance. But they'll take things just nearly muscle memory, bringing it back up to the surface, going, okay, yeah, we need to be a bit sharper against this. I think Armagh will have a similar type challenge. Armagh are really aggressive defensively, and they've man-to-man markers. I think that's their biggest strength outside of, yes, they've got exciting players up front, obviously Connaughty, Myrne and Turbot. Like you said, they're different types of players, they've different challenges. Turbot's having the summer of his life so far. But if you break this down, at their best, if two teams perform to their optimum, Kerry win the game. Kerry's ceiling is higher than Armagh's. I expect a big performance from them. They have that experience. I think Armagh can frustrate them for long periods, but I don't know, Jimmy, you like to, because we're forwards, we always break down who's going to score more, who will get their scores easier. I can see Kerry hitting the guts of 18 to 20 points, but then I can see Armagh nicking a couple of goals as well, if they're really brave at it. I know off the record, Jimmy, you were giving it the big one that Kerry are going to hammer them here, but you were
an absolute porky
you
pie.
fucking were.
Huh?
I think it will be a really intriguing game, but I can see long parts of this being quite cagey as well. I'm looking forward to it. You said it, Tommy. This for the first time for me is a dub. The just total neutral for both games this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing what the teams come out with. It's a massive opportunity for Armagh, but it's also a massive opportunity for Kerry here to get their hands back on Sam Maguire. And I think the experience they have, the quality they have in their team, the proven performers, even all Armagh's strengths that they have, I think Kerry, if they perform, and I suppose this goes what I'm saying, if Kerry reach near their potential, they'll have too much for Armagh.
How do you think teams
I think you made
match? Oh, go on, James. Yeah, go on.
No, just you made a very good point about Armagh's defence and their man markers. I think they are very strong at the back, and
Very good.
like they are going to give the Kerry lads hell. Like
they're really
I hope
aggressive.
that they're ready
Jimmy,
for
aren't
it.
they? They're an aggressive team all over the pitch, which is a great plus for them. Like they go
they're
after
aggressive
teams defensively
on a normal day. On a normal day, imagine how aggressive they're going to be in their first semi-final for 19 years. Like they are going to be so up for it, and they're going to be so physical. Maybe an element, even they might play right on the edge, and they'll try and upset the Kerry fellas. The Kerry lads have to be so tuned into that like whatever is thrown at you, you keep your head. You make sure you do the next thing right, or if something goes against you, you get caught in a group tackle. That's fine. Next ball, you do the right thing. Do something simple, like. This game could easily turn into just a mess in terms of Kerry kind of not being able to handle what Armagh throw at them if Armagh go completely gung-ho at it in terms of their tackling intensity.
But Jimmy,
and the other thing is
Kerry's side, isn't that with Jack's experience and the Kerry players? That's a massive plus for Kerry. That's what I'm saying. The experience these guys have of that.
Yeah.
They'll know that. We know that. Man on the street is going to know what's coming. I think Kerry have experience. They'll know what to expect. Jack O'Connor is unbelievably experienced as a coach. They should be prepared for that, because you're right, it is fucking coming. But I think Kerry are well equipped to deal with that. Do you know what I mean? Is there confidence down there, Jimmy, to win this game?
There is, but where there's an element of an unknown about Armagh as well, because you haven't played them that often, and do you know the way you kind of build up a rivalry with teams over a while and you kind of know what's coming? Yeah. I don't think the Kerry people know exactly what's going to be thrown at them. But you know what Derry didn't bring in the Derry-Kerry game was the intensity from the crowd. Like there was not a peep. It was just dead silence. Like Armagh, and they've actually done it before, where McGeeney and Doneghue have gone into the media and said, "We need you, lads. We need you to actually contribute to this game." Like if the Armagh crowd get involved, it will be another little bit of a help to them, the 16th man. So it'll be interesting to see. Is there going to be the atmosphere in the stadium, or is it going to be dead quiet again?
Was that the second point you were going to make?
Yeah.
Can I go back to you on the first point? Because I have a question for you on this, right? So you mentioned the ferocity of the Armagh defenders and playing on the edge. So Conor Mackin's boot grazes Conor Glass's head and he gets a ban for 2 games. There was videos and photos going around of, and you could see it in the game, the treatment and the defending that Aaron McKay did so well on Lachlan Murray. But, there was a lot of nipping going on. There was an old WhatsApp going around of the bruises that were on Lachlan Murray at the time. Like, we saw the tussle and how far Christy McKay brought it with David Clifford at the weekend, where he had to play on the edge there, and they both got booked, even though from the corner of my eye, I thought McKay had possibly done something to get a red. But watching the replay, he was cute enough not to go too far. Mm-hmm. So, have you ever entered a game, right, in this guise, where you know you're going to be battered, nipped at, bruised, everything going on? How do you like not let that impact you? How do you just let that breeze off you? Because that's coming this weekend.
Yeah, I think there's probably stages where that's the norm, that you're going in expecting that, and if it's not coming, you're like, what's going on? Do you know, like there's always an element of the extras, like the championship extras when you're marking someone good. Like they're not just going to rely on their brain to be reading the game. Sometimes they're going into the dark arts, and that's part of it. And you actually respect it to an extent because they have to do it. It's part of the game.
Do you embrace it?
And then, well, I mean, I suppose you try and get away from it as much as you can, so you don't get stuck in. Like, just for example, say you're jogging across across the D, and there's a couple of defenders there. You jog around them, because if you went straight through them, you could be 3 or 4 minutes coming out of there. Like they're tiny things, but they're part of the game. The intimidation tactics, so important. If I was a manager, I would hope that my defenders are going to bring that extra. And the closer, like Paddy says, the closer you get to the prize,
James O'Donoghue,
the closer you get to a man.
Coaching his defenders to bring that extra. What would you want them to do?
I'd want them to be hands-on for every second of that game. I would not want my cornerback to take his hands off the corner forward. That personally, because from being a player, that used to be the one thing that was annoying for me. Whereas if I knew that I had a bit of space off him, I found that easier. But like, if the hand was on the hip and the shoulder constantly, like McCaig is very good at it, I think that's a starting point, just hands on altogether. And then wherever they want to go, you're making it so difficult. If they want to run across the field, you're pushing them into the chest, make it 5 times more energy than it should be to get over there. Then anything they do wrong, you're reminding them. Then you're saying, Jesus, who's warming up over there? I'd say you're coming off, yeah? Like all that little stuff. And then obviously you have your own lingo from your own county, and it can come across more aggressive depending where you're from. I think just all that is key.
Paddy,
key. Sometimes you can show too much respect to a forward.
Yeah.
You have to treat them like absolute shit.
What was the darkest of arts that you've suffered or seen from a defender?
I don't think this is just Armagh. I think you're kind of unfairly. Or maybe
it's not. I'm not saying that.
I expect all 4 teams. This is shit or get off the pot here at the weekend. Like this, all 4 teams, and we would have done it with Dublin, and Kerry do it as bad as anyone. All the top teams. This is the ultimate prize at stake. You do not make it easy for your opponents. That's an FBD league game. That's a McGrath Cup match in January where you can kind of go through the motions. You just make life hell for your opponent. That's it. That is sport. It's not just Gaelic football. This is the biggest prizes. We're in the real business end. So I expect, that's what I mean for the Kerry forwards. They'll expect it. But the Kerry forwards can give lip to anyone they need to as well. Like that's just part of the game at this level. It's big boy stuff. So from our own point of view, we got it from all the teams. Mayo, our games, Tyrone.
Did you specifically ever have a tactic to avoid it? James is saying to run around a circle in the D there. What did you do? Or did you?
I would never really speak on the pitch. I just didn't get involved in it. That was my approach to deal. Different players will have different ways of dealing with it. There's no right or wrong. Some players, you think the likes of O'Donoghue, obviously, he embraced it. He nearly was driving it himself as a forward. My own style, I think you were pretty similar, Jimmy. Just kind of keep the head down. I didn't care what was said to me, what was done to me. It didn't bother me. That was just my personality. Whereas we players in our team, like Dermo, obviously, who would enjoy that element of it. So it's totally dependent on the players, but you need to be prepared for it. So and that's what I'm saying about the experience of the Kerry forwards. Whatever works for you, you know it's coming. And I would say, there ain't no shrieking violets in the Kerry defence either. Like Conor Turbert's going to be getting it in the neck. The likes of Morley, Murphy, they're all experienced players as well. If you're playing at this level, if you've come through to this level where you're starting for one of the top teams in the country in an All-Ireland semi-final, you're a serious player. You have dealt with your fair share of shit over your career through underage ranks, through senior and county ranks as well. So all the players will be aware of it. You just need to expect it, deal with it, whatever you need to do to embrace that, to perform. And that's what I mean. Like, this is an experienced Kerry team. Whatever comes at from the Armagh defence, they'll know what to expect. And the same from Armagh on the other side. So it's It's part. We'll see it. We'll be there. We'll be watching it. But I don't think it'll have too much of an impact on either of the semi-finals this weekend. It's just part of it, and all four teams will expect it.
Definitely. Can we move on, Paddy? Time wise, you just let me know because middle of your workday here.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
You have
Is
that,
that
do you?
okay? Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, James, you okay? Yeah.
Crack
I
Okay.
need to be gone by a quarter past because
I don't
this
want
has to upload and then I have to run.
don't want to get you in trouble. Okay, so let's
Let's talk.
just move on to the matchups then from Donegal Galway. Right, so I'm just going to give you the two teams here: Gleeson, McGrath, Fitzgerald, Glynn, Dylan McHugh, Liam Silk, Sean Mulcairns, Paul Conroy, Sean Kelly, Matty Tierney, John Maher, Killian McDade, Finnerty, Comer, Walsh was the Galway side that lined out the last day that bet Dublin. On the Donegal side, this is now speculating on the team, right? So Jim McGeeney was asked afterwards about Jason McGee's fitness, his hamstring. He was back in the panel. Would he be ready to go? Kieran Moore lined out in midfield. He's been brilliant all year. He's a utility player. He could absolutely start if McGee starts too. So I'm just not sure what way that team is going to line up. But Patton and goals, Mark Curran, McCole, Owen Gallagher, Ryan McHugh, McGonigal, Patter Mogan. It'll be McGee or Moore in midfield. Michael Langan, Shane O'Donnell, Kieran Thompson, Darrow Boyle, McBrearty, Gallen, Niall O'Donnell. A lot of quality footballers on the field, and that's before we get to the benches and the options that are come in. How do you think Galway and Donegal are matched up? Paddy, I'll go to you here. How do you think those teams, the styles, the setups, Jim against Joyce, how do you think they match up against each other?
Yeah, we touched on it last week. Donegal's greatest weapon this year has been the pace they brought to the game. They're kind of intensity in defence, but they're really, really hurting teams. We've seen them rack up big scores in the National League, and they've carried that on in the Ulster Championship win in terms of the pace they can inject into their attack. Obviously, Ryan McHugh, Paller Morgan, Owen Gallagher, like raw pace from defence, and they're unbelievably well coached, as you'd expect from Jim McGuinness. Everyone knows their job to a T, and they prey on teams switching off, and they punch holes. They got Oisin Gallen, who we know can kick scores. McBrearty's probably not at his optimum level anymore. That's fine, but between Niall O'Donnell and Shane O'Donnell, they can kick long range scores as well with the likes of Thompson and Langan. So their main point of attack is that real penetration from deep, that they cut through teams, and if they're held up, they have guys who can really hit long range scores. I think they're going to have to rely on that a bit more this week out. You have to think that Galway, with the athleticism and the power that Galway have, they will be absolutely unbelievably well prepared to deal with that Donegal running game. And this is where I feel Donegal come up a little bit short, that if that is tied down by that Galway middle third, the likes of Mulcairn, obviously around the middle, McDade is kind of, after the Dublin game, back to nearly his absolute best. They have the athleticism and the pace to deal with that Donegal attack in the first wave. I think Donegal could struggle to get big scores then. They Gallen, McBrearty, these 60-yard kick passes inside, really fast foot pass transitions. Donegal haven't used that at all throughout the season. Can they do it? Yeah, they could, but we haven't seen it at all. And I think that is the next evolution of their attacking game. And I think Galway can do both. Galway can play that running game, but I think Galway are further down the track than this Donegal team. I think you speak to anyone in Donegal, they feel they're probably a bit ahead of schedule. They're in the semi-final and they've got a chance, of course.
They take it.
But exactly. But you talk to any of them throughout the season, they're probably a bit further than where they thought they'd be. And I think that could come back to get them on Sunday. I think Galway have more weapons and more styles of attack that can hurt this Donegal team.
Just two things on that, and I want to come into the kick passing, but just a note on that. I know we're talking about this very much the same sort of language you would have used about Donegal back in 11 and 12, but I actually think
they're far more attacking now than they were back then.
Yes, and I know they're missing Murphy and they don't have McFadden, but the evolution of their game is probably less. They probably need less to kind of bridge that gap, because back then they were so defensive, and they obviously had that infamous semi-final with Dublin where the scores were so low. I don't think we're going to have something like that transpire, but I do agree with you on the kicking, because in the Dublin game we had, and Dublin didn't do this enough, but we had that brilliant score when Mannion marks it, turns and whips it into Con. Kick pass to kick pass, who slips it to Fenton. Fenton actually could have gone for goal there, but he takes his point. And in the second half, you had Dylan McHugh get a ball, diagonal pass to Damien Comer, slips it to Killian McDade. Brilliant point. That kicking we saw at times in Galway and the Dublin game, they absolutely have it in the back pocket. James, the Galway
Who does?
use it
Donegal
enough.
have that in the back pocket?
No, Galway have it, but I don't think they even use
Yeah,
it that much.
that's-
I think Galway takes so much time, and we've seen it this season in their phases of play. Their slow build-up, I'm fairly sure will actually suit Donegal if they play with that slow build-up. So I think Galway will actually have to express themselves a bit more if they want to bring that kicking game into play.
I agree that Galway have both styles in the locker. I think they can kind of adapt to what's in front of them. But if you look at Donegal aren't, like, they get a lot of bodies back. They're not rock solid at the back. They're not, like, they're conceding decent scores. Like, Loud to kick 18 points off them is substantial. You know, Mulroy ended up kicking 10. Like that, it's a lot of conceding. So I think they're going to have to defend with a lot more intensity. The way the Galway set up then is going to be interesting, because I think Donegal's main dangers are down the sides. Peter Morgan, McHugh playing so well this year, and they're getting it wide, they're cutting in. That it's like there's threat out wide, and you're constantly looking over your shoulder on the sideline. So, is Sean Kelly going to be playing?
Would
If
you
he's
start
not-
Sean Kelly if he's restricted as he has been in the last
I
couple of
wouldn't.
weeks?
No, I would. I think they've fallen
they
into
need to.
that. They've fallen into that trap previously, and
And
I
you think All Ireland
I'd save him.
semi-final, you don't. You
I'd save him.
okay.
I'd want to bring him on, and next thing the crowd go, yes, Kelly's on, and bit of leadership. I'd hate to see him go off injured. So the way that Galway line up, especially on those sides, is going to be interesting. Because if Kelly doesn't play, do they bring in a Cian Darcy or a Johnny Heaney to maybe to track one of them and move maybe McDade back to midfield? There's kind of the selection dilemmas there for them, but I think the Galway are the stronger. I think the Galway are the stronger outfit, top to bottom, at the moment. There's scope in Donegal, as Paddy said, but at the moment, I think that Donegal are just short something on both ends of the field. They're conceding a bit too much, and I think that Galway are strong defensively to keep them down.
You said after the game that the happiest man in Croke Park after Donegal allowed would be Ryan McHugh, because Paddy Morgan had such an awesome game, kicking those 5 points, doing a man-marking job on Kieran Keenan. I asked Kevin Walsh on Off the Ball breakfast on the Monday morning when Cork were facing Donegal, and they obviously bet them. It's like, how did you deal with the double threat of Morgan and McHugh? Who did you man-mark? And Cork didn't man-mark either of them. Do you think that Galway might take a similar approach to what Cork did, or do you think that Galway will actually try and detail somebody on them? Because just now that we're talking about Kelly's fitness, I'm wondering, do you start Cian Darcy, or do you move Matthew Tierney maybe to midfield and start somebody that we didn't see the last day in a Kieran Malloy to possibly tag McHugh or Morgan?
But like Johnny Heaney as well, it's a type of game made for him. His athleticism, his diligence. Like if you're picking up these guys, and I think Galway will detail some. We've seen Tyrone get big joy out of Mark and Roy McHugh in a couple of games they played. Just it's such a threat for Morgan and McHugh. I wouldn't be surprised to see guys man-mark them, and that's where if Sean Kelly or something like that is carrying a knock, like Donegal are at the absolute dangerous when you switch off. You switch off for half a second, they get a run on you. You won't catch them. And that's where the biggest thing for Galway at this weekend is, one, have they got the physical attributes to deal with that challenge? They absolutely do. Their power, their athleticism, it's one of their biggest strengths. But mentally, you have to be so focused. We've got caught out against Donegal over the years where you switch off. They're one of the most lethal teams, and you can see it in their build-up. They'll be slow. You can hear them talking on the pitch. We were in Ballybuffet for their group stage win over Tyrone. They are targeting players who switch off, and that's when the pace comes, and then they penetrate. That's like if Sean Kelly's not able to deal with that physically, well, then you don't play him. You can't take that risk with him in this type of game because of the threats Donegal pose. That's where someone like Heaney or Darcy, with the athleticism they have, it's quite easy. It's nearly an easy thing to prepare for when you know it's coming. That it's quite basic. You tag him and do not switch off. But it's if you get tired, if you get distracted, Donegal are a team that can really hurt you. And I think Galway know that's coming. And if they shut that down, it's so obvious from Donegal. I think they struggle to get other scores. Whereas Galway were able to kick the ball. We've seen that against Dublin because Dublin let teams do that. Dublin will play in the front foot, their space. So Galway have the tools to hurt a team like Dublin because they can play that. And they have the other stuff as well, where they can run the ball, and they've more depth to their game, their squad, and their actual tactical game than where Donegal are at. Not to say Donegal are no good. Obviously, they're Ulster champions, they're All-Ireland semi-final, but I think they're short a level of what Galway can do in their attack.
Yeah, I think even if we had an extra year of Donegal playing the way they are, who they have, and what they're delivering, in 12 months' time, if they're back in the semi-final, like, we probably have a completely different expectancy of them, or we'd be really expecting them to crack on and deliver and maybe even win the All-Ireland. But they literally 12 months ago they were relegated from Division 1, had an absolute nightmare, and now they're, top four. I think they've had an unbelievable season, and if you'd given them semi-final of an All-Ireland and an Ulster title at the start of the year, I think they would have snapped your hand off for it. They've had a fantastic season, but I know McGuinness will still have them in the dressing room, and they'll be like, we can topple Galway and we can beat an Armagh or Kerry in a final. There's no doubt that they still think they can win the whole thing, but I just think they're a bit short on experience.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that. I also can't shake the feeling that each and every one of the players in the dressing rooms know the opportunity that's ahead of them here. And we saw the manner in which the Clare players responded in the hurling. In the first half, none of their key players were anywhere near the pitch of it. They were nowhere near the ball. They couldn't get into the game. And I've mentioned this a few times in the last few days. I don't know if you remember this, but it made me think of Michael Meehan at our roadshow in Kilmacud Crokes back in 2022. And he told a yarn about a lesson he learned. Paddy, I don't know if you remember this, but I asked Meehan, did he have any regrets about not winning All-Ireland? And you jump in and said I was trying to bring the tone down in the room. And Meehan said, no regrets, but I did learn one lesson. He said he missed out on playing in semi-finals and finals in the big days. He loved those days because he learned one lesson when he was in school playing a Hogan Cup final against St. Pat's in Croke Park. And he let the game pass him by. And after that, he made sure no matter what happened, he'd never let a game pass him by again. I think Damien Comer was a good proponent of that at the weekend. It wasn't happening for him. It wasn't clicking for him. Sean McMahon was all over him. He was kicking wides over his shoulder, wild shots, and he made the decision that he was just going to impact the game. And he comes away with 3 assists and a turnover on a kick-out that led to Cian Darcy score in the second half. So I think the Donegal players, while they may be happy with their lot to an extent, Jesus, you have a chance to get to an All-Ireland final here. There's no way to thinking it's going to be in that dressing room that we've done our dues so far. And it's the same with Armagh. And that's why I know Kerry Galway is the bookies' favourites this weekend, but I don't think we're going to end up with a Kerry Galway All-Ireland final.
Oh, it's a close in the bookies, isn't it?
Close, yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen like that. I just think one of them are going to deliver an upset.
We've harped on about it all year, but we've no idea what condition some of the Galway players are in. Are they 100% fit? Are they just going to come out and do a Michael Murphy and do the parade and go back into the dugout? Like, what are they going to do? Like, are they ready for it physically? That's the thing. Like, Walsh was hobbling big style after that game. Comer didn't look right, but he needed the and Kelly came off. What's that, Paddy?
You'd have to think Walsh or Comer will start. Kelly, this is total guesswork, but you're thinking the weak turnaround they had from the Monaghan game to the Dublin match, they got those lads on the pitch by hook or by crook. They've had 2 weeks now. We've seen how pivotal they are. And of all the 4 teams are in it, like I said, you can make a case for them all. They all have massive pros to their teams. That's why they're in the All-Ireland semi-final. But I think the weaknesses are probably a bit greater with Donegal, and to an extent Armagh. There's a little bit of an unknown of how they're actually going to approach the game. The bookies are obviously going with Kerry and Galway because they're probably a bit more proven and they have the potential for it. But it's with Galway, and it makes such a difference out of all the teams. If they're missing Comer and Walsh and Kelly and Finnerty, you didn't look right the last day, they're a completely different outfit. Completely different. This is a team that was nearly relegated from Division 1. Sligo nearly knocked them out of the Connacht Championship when they're struggling with these injuries. And then we see what they can do when Horrocks used to be fair to them, saying all year when we get our best players on the pitch, then have a look at us. They take out Dublin, and deservedly take out Dublin, who everyone had as favourites. So the discrepancy between Galway missing some key personnel and then having their full team operating well is chalk and cheese. I think they'll win it. the whole thing if they have their full team up. But we just don't know, and we're not going to know till 5-4 on Sunday afternoon. But it sets it up. I think both games are intriguing in their own way. I think they probably will both be relatively cagey, but it's all Ireland semi-finals. You know, there's a hell of a lot on the line. If we get a classic Kerry Armagh from 2000, fucking magic. I'd love to see it. But I just think there'll be a lot of teams feeling each other out. And you know, we the gag where we're doing the club season just before Christmas. We wait till the final. Just tune in with 10 minutes to go, and we'll see. But no, I'm leaning towards obviously the favourites, and that went out the window last week and in our quarterfinals. But I think Galway and Kerry probably have a bit much for Donegal and Armagh this weekend. Could be way wrong. Wouldn't be the first time.
And would you be leaning towards the favourite before I come to James and his predictions in the Tailteann Cup final? I think the consensus is that Laois have moved forward and progressed, but Down, you think it's Down's time?
I'd be very confident of that one, that Down will have too much.
James?
Kerry Armagh game, it can be very tight. I think the Kerry's know-how might be enough. Paddy, I don't know why you're laughing at me. I think Kerry's know-how might be enough to pull.
Jimmy, get Jimmy off here. Leave his mic on. Leave Jimmy's mic on after we go off.
Second game, Donegal, Galway. I think this could be the main game. This game could go.
Before you answer, just gonna say, because this is just blown up on Twitter. Mentioned the breaking news that James has revealed that he hadn't watched The Year Till Sunday yet.
Oh,
first response, shocking behaviour, Sinead. Second response, that is sacrilege. How did he get a gig on the pod without seeing the greatest GAA doc of all time? And third response from E. O'Neill, hashtag cancel O'Donoghue. James, you're going to have to watch A Year Till Sunday today. Now, come on.
And then,
talk to us. Go, Donegal. I interrupted you. I've already linked it in the tweet.
The Galway Donegal game, I reckon will be a lot higher scoring than we expect. I think there'll be fireworks in that. I think McGeeney will have a plan to get a goal or two. I think the Galway have enough threat up there to do the same. I think it'll be high scoring, and I think the Galway will have enough scores to get over the line in that one. And I think Down should win the Tailteann. But I think Down will win Tailteann.
Okay.
That's my trouble.
Lads. Very enjoyable episode of the Football Pod. We'll know the All-Ireland finalists on Monday. We will be making a lot of late calls. A couple of seeds planted already this week to get our guests lined up for the Football Pod Roadshow, our sold-out roadshow in Croke Park that we cannot wait for. We may have a little bit of news coming around that as well. There might be, I've got a couple of tickets in the back pocket to give away on the Football Pod Instagram. There's a few people who can't make it now who are looking to sell their tickets, so I'll try and put people in touch on Twitter with each other, and we can't wait for that show. So, as always, the Football Pod is brought to you with thanks to AIB, proud sponsor of the Senior Football Championship. Check out hashtag the toughest for more. It's going to be a hell of a weekend of football. Hopefully, we get excitement, a bit of panache. We're definitely going to get the colour. I hope the crowds are there, because the noise in Croke Park on Sunday was such a treat, and it'd be magic to get it. Boys, enjoy the week. We'll be chatting.
See us over the weekend. So you're there, I'm there, I'm in Croker Sunday.
So, Paddy, we've got the game Sunday. We're there Sunday together, and James, we're covering the game on Saturday. So between ourselves, there'll be an extra little bit of Football Pod goodness across the Off the Ball podcast feeds. Everyone at home, thank you for tuning in. James O'Donoghue, Paddy Andrews, thanks very much for your time as always.
Thanks,
Magic,
boys.
lads. Enjoy the weekend.
See you later.
You too.